You need to start contradicting yourself. And what does that mean? It means that you need to become comfortable with making yourself a version of yourself that you told everyone and their mom that you were never gonna be. Maybe you've created a reality about the type of person that you are and the type of things that you do and the type of things that you would never do. Contradicting yourself is actually very, very healthy, but we've been taught by society that it's very unhealthy because it is scary. And anything that is scary, anything that involves you being in some type of fear, anything that involves you being outside your comfort zone is gonna feel weird. But that's what's gonna make you grow. And you know what? I'm sure that a lot of you guys have heard people tell you at some point, wow, that's not what you were doing a while ago. Or I thought you started doing this, or I thought you started doing that, or stopped doing this. First and foremost, who are they to judge you? What are they doing with their lives? If they're not changing anything in their life, nothing is happening, nothing is changing. I'm sorry, but that sounds really freaking boring to me. That sounds like they never have any personal development. Where's their lore? Like, there's no lore. Me personally, I'm a big believer in personal lore. I know that I can be friends with someone if their lore is not based on trauma, but their lore is based on their crazy special interests that they pursue with literal no inhibitions. They're literally gonna go and do whatever it is they want to do. They're not afraid of becoming a new version of themselves, even a version that they never thought that they were going to be. But the reason I think it's very important for us to talk about contradicting yourself is because, especially when you're a woman, we are pushed from a very, very young age to figure out what we want and who we want to be. I remember around when I was 14 and I had just started taking French classes. Mind you, French wasn't available at my school. French was only available at night school. Everyone was like, oh my God, you're gonna get a degree in French. You're gonna go to France. And at that time, I was really invested in learning French. I remember in my yearbook, it literally said that there was like a quote that says, amour français, vie française. Apparently that was a quote that I said. I never said that quote. And I remember for like Spirit Week, I dressed up as a French guy. I wore a beret and I had like a baguette. I was like extremely enmeshed in this. And I remember everyone was talking about like, oh, you love French. You love France. French. And honestly, it made me feel kind of stuffed, like stuffy even, that everyone was talking about how, oh, you love French. But because everyone at that time, I'm 14, everyone's talking about how I love French. I'm like, yeah, I love French. I'm sure that I honestly enmeshed myself more, actually maybe too much, into French, just because everyone was like, oh, now you're gonna go ahead and be like some great French something. And you know what? This idea that I had to do something that had to do with French persisted after I dropped out of law school. I applied for business school, business in English and French. My Delulu idea that French was all that didn't die until I was faced with the fact that maybe French was all that when I was 14, but it's not all that when I was like 20. And the reason why I wanted to bring up that story is because a lot of the time as women, from a young age, if we show any interest into something, we're kind of pushed to take that on as a personality trait, especially when you're neurodivergent, because when you're a neurodivergent girly, aka you're also probably ADHD girly, you know for a fact that hobby hopping is a thing. But you know what? The fact that you can like so many different things at once, or you can really enmesh yourself into one thing and that then you change like a couple years later, that really scares people. And it really scares people on the internet as well. It scares both your friends and your family because then they don't know how to define you, and then it's really hard to keep a hold on you. They don't know how to predict what you're going to do because you're willing to just go full all in your interests. But people on the internet also can't fathom that you can change and you can be someone different than you were a month ago, a week ago, or a day ago. You can wake up and choose to be the type of person that you want to be for the day, and then you can go home and change and be someone else the next day. That's why it's kind of like revolutionary whenever you see a girl on the internet who can both dress really cute, but she can also dress a little streetwear, and she can also dress like, oh my God, get yourself a girl who can do both. The bar is really that low that both is what we're aiming for. We're really sticking by only two, both. Oh, so you can only have two sides to you, the cute side and then the roar. I'm a little bit of a tiger girl. I'm dangerous. Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. But people on the internet specifically, this is going to be me ranting. You're welcome. They have a tendency to, if you're someone, you know, like you change your style, you change your opinion, something just changes about you, then they want to hold you to your word. Like, well, 2 years ago, you didn't used to dress like this. So now it's like weird that you're dressing like this or you're saying this. Like, God forbid a woman changes her mind. I think a lot of the time, especially men especially, and also pick me girls, sorry, but the pick me girls as well, they think that, okay, well, you're one version of yourself, and if you change, that means that that's not the real you. The version of yourself that you established yourself as first, or established yourself as in a crowd, that's the version of you that they expect to have for the rest of time. This is also why it can be very, very dangerous to deal with men that are not ready to embrace the fact that you are not someone who can just be embraced by like, oh, this is who I am now. Like, they gotta understand that that's not what you're gonna be doing for the rest of your life. Your opinions can change, especially when you've worked on yourself mentally and you've grown, then your opinions will change because your mentality is gonna change. That's exactly why men don't like that women change and that women switch up. They call it switching up. They call it that for a reason, because they don't like the fact that a woman can change her opinion. That's when they try to tell you that things are coming out of nowhere. When did this start? Like, God forbid a woman just like one day wakes up and is like, you know what, I want to do something different today. If a man does that, then he's a motivated, strategic, and fearless man. If a woman does that, she's crazy. That's why when a woman like chops a big chunk of her hair or starts getting tattoos or she just switches her style, then suddenly it's like, oh, she really changed. You know what a fantastic example is of that? Emma Chamberlain. Chamberlain. The reason why she's such an amazing example is because she is a fashion goddess diva. She's not afraid of showing who she is to the world. But you know what? When she cut her hair short and she started just doing videos showing up as the version of herself that she deserves to be able to show up as, people were asking what went wrong. Oh, did something happen? You know what happened? She chose to wake up and have free will. That's what happened. A lot of the time in today's age where a lot of people feel comfortable trauma dumping and oversharing with everyone and their mom, we also kind of feel entitled to other people's explanations for why things happened. It's kind of like a full-time reality TV show that we're living in, where it's like, okay, this person, oh, suddenly they're not wearing only dresses and only skirts. Now they're also wearing baggy t-shirts. Oh my God. And I'm a prime example of this. Like, hello? I make a ton of videos about how to level up as a woman and like changing your style and becoming more feminine and all of this stuff. And I also make a lot of strategic videos about like how you become more strategic with your style if you want to actually trick men. Does that mean that that's the only thing that I run around and do? Does that mean that my style is catered to patriarchy and that like I'm gonna wear a flowy pink dress every single day? No. Maybe there's even gonna be a month where I'm gonna show up wearing a t-shirt every single day. Because you know what? I understand and I identify with the fact that I am not gonna let myself be tethered by the opinions that I've shared that can help people. That doesn't mean that I need to show up like that every single day. That doesn't mean that you need to show up as the version of yourself that you were yesterday. That's not how things work. That's not how you are shrinking yourself if you're letting yourself be defined by who you were yesterday. You should be inspired by all of the things you've overcome, but you don't need to let yourself be completely defined by that. Contradicting yourself is all about being comfortable with the fact that the version of you that you're going to step into tomorrow may not be the version of you that you are today. Contradicting yourself is realizing that you know nothing about who you can actually become and letting yourself step into that nothingness and saying, okay, you know what? Maybe I can make something out of this nothing. Contradicting yourself is all about looking yourself in the mirror and say, I can do more than both. I can do everything. Contradicting yourself is all about being a freaking hypocrite. And you know what? Girls that are hypocrites, they have so much more fun. Because a lot of the time when we meet men or when we talk to men or in general in society, also with women, we don't want to be hypocrites. We want to be moral and just. And that's why we don't try out anything in our lives, because we want everything to be right. We want everything to be perfect. So we only want to go through one route. We only want to try on one thing in case that something changes and our opinions should change and we should change. And then we have to explain ourselves. Girl, there's no one to explain yourself to. There's no one to explain yourself to. That's something you're making up in your head. Second of all, if you do not take any chances, if you do not become a chronic hypocrite, then you will actually end up resenting yourself full time because you never let yourself see what it would be like to try out something that might not be the version of yourself that you are going to be in a month. But when you let yourself try something out, make yourself slightly uncomfortable by trying something out that you never tried, changing your style, changing your opinion, not doing, wearing, going the same places that you usually go, deleting all the pictures on your Instagram and starting over, re-uploading old Instagram pictures that you deleted once. Whatever it is you want to do, this is all your game to play. It is not other people's game to play, but in our heads, we always make it about other people because we do not want to assume the responsibility that it is that we can actually step into a version of ourselves that is more, that has more options and that can actually explore more versions of themselves. When you're a woman, you want to be so moral, you want to be so nice, you want to be so good, which means that you just try your best never to settle for anything. You try your best never to go for anything specific, because when you put both feet in when it comes to betting on yourself and something that you want to try out, then you're afraid that that's who you're going to have to show up for the rest of your life. It's not. It's not. The only person you have to show up as every day is yourself. And that is going to change. And the quicker you become comfortable with being a hypocrite, contradicting yourself, being immoral, the quicker you will actually start speeding up the process of growth that you have been denying yourself because it feels more comfortable staying at the level you're at right now. It is way more fun when you say to yourself, maybe there's a new me out there that I haven't met yet, and I'm waiting for her to come around, but I'm also just gonna do whatever I want to do in the meantime. Being a hypocrite is especially healthy for you if you're a woman who's constantly been people-pleasing, oversharing, overdoing everything for everyone. Because when you are a people-pleaser girly, you will naturally put other people's needs and other people's thoughts before your own. And in reality, you can't even predict other people's thoughts. So it's actually just your thoughts, but they're just weaponized against you. And then it can be really, really daunting for you to fully express who you deserve to be. Because that would mean that you no longer people please. That would mean that your energy would actually go towards you, your wishes, your wants, you showing up as who you deserve to be. And that's extremely scary, especially for a neurodivergent, especially for a neurodivergent woman, because it's a double whammy. Because you're both neurodivergent, so you take things differently, and you're also a woman, which means that you're socialized differently. That's why it takes so long for neurodivergent girls to be diagnosed usually, because people think that they're normal. Everyone's always talking about, oh, there were no signs. Girl, of course there were no signs. This girl is working on overtime to people please everyone to make it seem like she's okay. She's not doing anything wrong. That's the reason you're not clocking that anything's wrong with her, is because she's making everything right for you. And there's also nothing wrong with being neurodivergent, but a lot of neurodivergent girlies, they do, you do go through phases where you're like, what's going on with me? Why is something different? Why is something different? And that makes you feel wrong compared to other people. But as long as you're making everyone else happy around you, they're not going to clock that something is going on with you. I saw a meme the other day that said they will literally let you ride the ADHD train unmedicated your whole life if you just get good grades. Like, yeah, of course. Because you're making everyone else happy. So then there's nothing going on with you. That's why it feels like you're being a hypocrite. That's why it feels like you're contradicting yourself when you choose a new version of yourself rather than the version of yourself that everyone else is comfortable with. Because their comfortability is what you value over your own self expression. And that is why you self abandon, because you would rather make everyone else comfortable with the version of yourself that you were, so that they don't question you, so that you have control, you have the illusion of control, rather than let them go, let them think whatever they want, let them do whatever they want, let them react to you however they want, because it doesn't matter. When you let go of that control is really, really hard to let go of. That's why a lot of the times us neurodivergent girlies and women, especially, also just regular women, have such a hard time of just stepping into the version of ourselves that we want to be, because we think we owe everyone explaining it, and we think we need to control the situation, and the way that we try to control the situation is by shrinking ourselves into the version of ourselves that people are used to being around, because we know that they can't handle that version of ourselves that we're stepping into being. And you know what really inspired me to talk about this today? I went visiting at my home at my parents', and I went to visit one of my old friends that I used to hang out with and take streetwear pictures with back in the day. This is one of my good friends, but we haven't seen each other in ages. And he's the type of guy that has a lot of lore. Like, this guy has so much lore. Because first and foremost, this guy has ADHD, and he's not afraid of using it as a superpower to do whatever it is he wants. Let me tell you about him. This guy has 3 motorcycles, because he likes motorcycles now. He used to collect taxidermied animals, so many that for many years he could just pay his rent by selling taxidermied animals, because he had like a collection of 300. He's had an owl. Yeah, an owl. He's had literal python snakes. He had a supreme brick once. Yes, a supreme brick. I think he used to have a gecko named Arnold, and now he just adopted a bearded dragon that he used to own, but he lent to his rent for a while, and then he adopted him back. Mind you, this guy also has a tattoo studio. He also runs marathons once in a while. He's a personal trainer. He has all kinds of fun tattoos, and he tattooed his own legs. I know for a fact that he once tattooed a guy's arm green so they could use it as a green screen. And at the local bar, he has his literal surname carved into the door of the bathroom. And every time he goes there with some of his friends, they take a selfie while they point at his name. And why do I know that? Because he posts it on his Instagram story, and he has multiple photo albums of him just pointing at the name. And you can literally see his progression through like how he changed over time. But he's still just pointing at his name. This person has so much lore. And because it's been so long since we've hung out, I hadn't realized how much I was letting my own lore down. Because you know what? You can do whatever. I am someone. I will pick up a hobby and I will do that hobby with my heart and soul for a little while, and then I will switch it up and I'll be obsessed with something else. I have a couple obsessions. His obsession was taxidermied animals, scooters or motorcycles. I know he likes cowboy boots too, and then he also likes weird animals. I like handbags. I like shoes. I used to have a big sneaker collection. I do watercolor painting. Some lore about me that I think is very funny that my mom always brings up is that I used to do ballet for almost a decade, and then one day I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore, and then I told my mom. I remember I was pretty young, because I started really young, which means that I finished really young. I told my mom I don't want to go, and she was like, "Why don't you want to go?" I was like, I just don't like someone telling me what to do anymore. And I don't know why. That's a great example of the fact that being a hypocrite will take you so much further, because you won't be stuck doing something that you don't want to do just because someone once told you that you're really good at it. And for me, I will get really, really tired and really, really bored if I keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's personally my amazing skill that keeps my personal progress and my growth constant. And what do I want to say with this? Well, if you cannot find it in your heart to be a hypocrite, to literally be someone who contradicts yourself, then you will get stuck in a pattern of not realizing who you want to be, because you're so afraid of what everyone else thinks. You can't show up as who you deserve to be because you're shrinking yourself to make others comfortable with the version of you that they can handle. They're not supposed to handle you. If they can't handle the changing version of you, the version that does more than both, they don't deserve to be in your life.